It's for me it was like, because I'm crazy like that. It's like once I started learning, I'm like, yo, I gotta tell my family because they don't know. So, then those conversations would happen, and then it would be like,
did you get called the devil?
Yeah, well, nah, because that's the thing. It's like if I'm coming in, I'm coming fully armed with information.
Yeah.
So I got whatever question you got, let's go. And I know I don't go in it if I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So when the conversations would happen, it was more of like, I don't want to talk about this because now I feel messed up because it's like trying to tell me something. It's like, nah, but X, Y, and Z. And it's like, how that makes sense based on X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it don't. And it's not my fault you're having a realization that it don't make sense. The problem is you resisting that it doesn't make sense and not questioning it to make it make sense for you. But it's like, when we were hanging out the other day, and like this line always comes to me when I have conversations or when I hear people just talking about stuff and like not really caring to know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. And it's like people acting like they want the truth. The appearance of the truth is enough. They don't want the proof. Mm-hmm. And that's Talib Kweli. Mm-hmm. And I feel that that's so prevalent. People, they not like folks don't look at what is in the stuff they consume. Like they don't read the labels. They read this label, but they don't read the ingredients. Okay, all right, yeah. To know what's in it. Like they really not paying attention.
Yeah. I think sometimes people are also trained like they look at it, but they don't know what it means. Because I see a lot of
you got a supercomputer in your pocket,
right? But I see a lot of bypassing. I see a lot of like mental gymnastics,
cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, that dissonance, and I feel like it looks like a couple different things. Like, I don't know. Growing up in Denver, with my mom's side of the family, like it was definitely like Catholic to Christian, because like the first school I went to was a Catholic school, even though like that's the black side of my family. It was like Catholic on that side. And then my dad's side of the family, that's the Mexican side of the family, but like they weren't Catholic, they were like non-denominational Christian by that point. So like, even though that's what the deal was when I was really little, like I remember like I got baptized like the Catholic way, like that the stories is what I was told. And so there was all these things that I was kind of like born into as far as like religious practice on both sides, like, because like, I don't know, like a lot of times people will stereotype thinking like, oh, your dad's side's the Mexican side, so they must be Catholic, right? And I'm like,
guilty.
But like, but they weren't like, I mean, maybe, but not like in practice. Like I don't remember going to, like the only time I remember maybe even hearing about me being in a Catholic church previous was like for the baby baptism, maybe like on a holiday or something, but I really don't remember being like in Catholic church. Like I remember my great grandma on my mom's side, she was Catholic. We'd put on the mass channel for her and that would be that. But if we did go to church, it would be for a holiday and it would be like Christian style, like non-denominational Christian church. But then like when I went to elementary, it was Catholic because they had the Catholic upbringing from great grandma type of shit. So I don't know. Either way, I just remember that being the influence, like this Christian influence on both sides. Yeah. And it never made sense for me. So then when it was forced, like, no, we're going to actually be devout and we're going to go this many times. I didn't like that. It didn't work for me, but I really started to question because I felt like I could talk them out of this because like they just might not know,
Right,
you know?
right,
So I'm
right.
like, well, maybe I could like talk them out of this. So I might ask a bunch of questions and then they'll think themselves out of it. Like maybe we don't have to do this. But like, you know, when you get forced to go, then when you're little, there's still like indoctrination that happens. So like, I remember even when now I'm an adult and I'm not doing this anymore. Like I remember I would like start to do like yoga. So then we're doing Kundalini yoga and now we're doing a chant. And I remember being like having to tell myself like, you can chant. It's not like it's not the devil because you're chanting. Because you hear those voices of all those things that have been taught to you, whether you believed it or not, it's still there. So I was like really having to be facing it and being like, no, I can chant and give myself permission to not be fearful about if it's approved by God or not. You know what I mean? Because like that was a lot that I was seeing. I'm like, this is all making us second guess ourselves and like wonder.
That's the guilt.
And then like as I got older and now I'm learning those lessons they don't teach us in school because they don't teach us anything about like Black history, about like Native history, Indigenous history, about like Mexican history. Like we don't know anything. So like I really didn't know a lot of stuff. So then the more I know, I'm just like, wait a second. So the indigenous Mexican people I came from, they were not Christians. They didn't that didn't happen until Spain. Black people that I came from, they were not Christian until Virginia. So like why am I doing this? Why do I think that like why am I and it's not even like it's like something that's happening internally. It's like happening in our brain. So I'm just like, okay, so I just start giving myself permission more. And like that's really where it hit for me, where I'm like the people that I came from, this was not our God. Like, and like what is God? Like like it starts becoming all those questions. And it's like really it's the relationship I have with myself, what I want to be like, how I want to treat people, what is that energy? And how do I stay in touch with it? And like how do I refine it and grow with it? And how do I like use it to fill myself up so that I could feel good when I'm going around? Like to me, that's the relationship with God, right? Like that's what we should be doing. And so that's what makes me feel good. So that's what I want to do. And like, I don't need to go to church to do that. And like, I remember telling her like, what do you mean go to church to be closer? Like, you don't feel God right now? You don't feel God right now. So like, why do we got to go there? What do you mean? Like, God's here. Like, what are you talking about? So that's always been something that I'm like, I don't need to go to this place to be with God. Like it is older than this religion, the name of this religion. It's older than these beliefs. This is timeless and I'm a part of it and it's in me. So I'm going to go there. I'm not going to go to this place that you told me to go. And I had to, obviously, because I still got to listen to my mom. So I did as long as I could, but now I do the other. And, you know, for me, it's a lot of nature. It's a lot of nature. It's a lot of song. And that's what feels good. And that's what I want to do. I want to feel good. That's what I think we're here to experience and feel good and love each other and like have loving, fun experiences like that stick on the river being kissed by the sun, you know, just floating down the river, feeling the cool on its back. So I don't know.
No, I'm with that. I mean, and you know, that's a hard realization coming from such a rigid structure. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, because you come from that place of, or I should say, I come from that place of, you know, very, like my mom, she don't wear no makeup. I've never seen my mom wear pants. Like, you know, very, very, I guess, orthodox or fundamental, like Pentecostal, Jamaican, you know. And my mom, she, you know, she kind of is very adherent to the religion or whatever. It was just a lot of the people around her and outside of that, I used to observe as a kid and be like, nah, yo, this ain't it. And it's just, it puts so much, it really puts so much guilt and self-doubt in you. You know what I'm saying? And it was a tool, Like I be trying to figure out, like, yo, who was the first dude? Like, so you had Christianity in Africa pre-colonialization, but it was more in like Egypt, the Coptics, Christians, like,
And it wasn't the Spanish Jesus.
no, this is, well, I mean, you know,
Because that image of white Jesus comes
is
from Spain.
Jesus is black. Of course, that's Michelangelo's cousin. But Jesus, if you telling me Jesus comes from that part of the world at that time, there's no way he's not a very dark man. You
Yeah,
know
he's
what I'm saying?
melanated. He's
Like,
melanated.
yeah, you know what I mean? Because yeah, it's absurd, but you know, folks be making shit up because you know they feel like they need to um, lift themselves up through some BS.
If
But
that's their agenda.
I mean, the agenda was to come in, and that's what I'm saying. Like, who was the first cat that was like, yo, yeah, these dudes coming off these boats, they talking that shit, son. They spitting that fire, bro. Like they talking about this, you know, this dude, and he in the sky and he watching us, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, who was the first brother that got sold that story?
I don't even see when we're talking about that. That's where I'm like, are you talking about pre-colonialization, like or are you
I'm
talking about during?
I'm
Or are you
talking
talking
like when
about?
the Portuguese first came down the west coast of Africa and started establishing ports of trade. So this is pre. This
That's where
is
I don't know if it was a choice. Like I don't know if the first person that ever had that spit to them. I don't know if it was a choice first.
oh,
You know what I mean? Like
no. They had African kings that were Christians that were converted by the Portuguese.
see, this is where I'm about to learn something. Teach me this, because like this is I don't know about this.
Well, yeah, they like you know they would come in and basically you know teach them about Christianity, and these kings would send their kids off to Europe to learn in Portuguese schools, to learn, you know, like they would send their kids there. This is like 1300s, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Going forward. Like this is pre-Columbus sailing across, you know what I'm saying? Um, they used to circumnavigate Africa to go to Asia to get the spices, and it was a long trip. So that's why Columbus allegedly sailed west.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Thinking he was going to India.
Yeah.
And allegedly, that's why they started calling folks here Indians. You know what I'm saying? Because before Columbus got here, we don't know what the folks, well, we know what some of them call themselves. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't call themselves Indians.
No, they had the tribe names.
Yeah, they were just people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
What we call our people.
Exactly. You know, these are Meante, whatever. You know what I mean?
Okay, so now you got me thinking, because I'm like, how that's where it starts me thinking like, okay, so yeah, the Portuguese were coming down and they were like prophesizing, like they were like preaching and stuff and like trying to get people to convert. But like, okay, but then isn't there also the argument that it like Christianity started in Africa? So did it go up and come back down?
Yeah.
So I don't know, like maybe that I feel like I need to know more. Like I want to learn about this more, because I feel like I'm going to be speculating or asking too many questions more than coming from a place of like
cool.
knowledge.
I mean, from what I know, the Christianity that exists today is not the Christianity that came out of Africa. It's very different. You know what I'm saying? It's been reshaped to be a tool of mass control, as opposed to people, you know. And this is the challenge for people of color in particular. You know, we're very spiritual, so when we get into a belief system, for the most part, many of us are very genuine about it. But I think some folks from other places, when they get into religion, is more of a political thing. It's more of a tool. It's less of a spiritual system and more of a political system of control and hierarchy and, having those systems of control. And that's why it was so effective when it was introduced to indigenous people, because it was already designed to control, and like Desmond Tutu would say, I don't know if you know who Desmond Tutu is. He would say, when the missionaries came to Africa, they all arrived and they had the Bible and we had the land, and they said, let us bow our heads in prayer. And after they said amen, we had the Bible and they had the land.
Mm-hmm. That pretty much explains, like you said, used as a tool, used to control. And that's kind of the only examples I've seen, like when we talk about that, that saying, like how that exchange happened, that wasn't an exchange. Like,
right.
I see so many examples of that.
Well, there's documentation of it now. There's documentation that have come out of missionaries essentially being the foot soldiers of colonialism, in particularly in Africa. I mean, in South America, it was like, in the Americas, it was more of the missionaries were there, but they weren't. They came along with. But like, in Africa, it was more they sent the missionaries first to kind of inoculate the people to being comfortable with these folks around them all the time. Not really understanding that the whole time these folks are there, they're there under the guise of, yo, y'all got nice shit, nigga. Oh, shit. Y'all got some nice shit. And y'all are just chilling. Like, it's no big deal. Like, you mind if I take some of this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what they were there for. For them, it's like, yo, it's just a tool of control. Either they controlling their folks at home or they using it to expand the empire by taking control of the people that have the land and the resources. Because they didn't have to worry about seasons on the continent. They didn't have to freeze their ass off. They had food.
What was the name of the settlement that's in like Mississippi? And like it was like how the Mexica have like the different pyramids and stuff like that. The Mayas have pyramids, and like you see that there was like those sorts of like mounds and temples like that, and it was in Mississippi. What was it called? But it was like a city. It was bigger than London. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and we have so many examples of these types of cities, these different peoples, like these different tribes, like whoever, like as you go to different, as far north as Mississippi, the same people aren't running up there. What's happening like when you're a little bit south of there, and as you go down and down and down, and into Central and what is now like Central and South America. But like there's all these examples of these peoples, these settlements, these like really bustling and like thriving cities. And it's not saying that these people didn't have conflicts or like things that were woesome or troubles, because it's people. Like people are messy. We have issues.
You got conflicts in just between your immediate family.
Yeah, but just the structure of these societies, and like to me, I just really wish we could know what that would be like, because as I travel, like especially when I went to Mexico, like there's this feeling of like I couldn't imagine being a traveler at any point in time in this great mystery. Me as a person, or who I think I am in this journey around, in this go. But with what I have here and where I'm at today, like when I think about these times, what you're talking about, they were the foot soldiers to this colonialization, to this manifest destiny, essentially. And like, I could not.
Because they saw it as their destiny as well.
Yeah, well, and they use God as the reason for, well, that's why their
Well,
destiny is.
exactly?
But I couldn't imagine at any point in history, and even now, going somewhere that I've never been and thinking that I know better than the people who are there, like
Right.
who live there, who in our, obviously that's their community, that's their land, like, or they
Well,
embrace the land, they work with the land. I couldn't
but
imagine.
but here's the thing, like, that's what's so crazy, because it's like there's a lot of evidence of Asians and Africans coming here and trading with, the people that are already here. You know what I'm saying? With no desire to enslave them. You know what I'm saying? But because one would think, yeah, there's people here. This is their stuff. I'm gonna come up. I'm gonna talk to them. I'm gonna, the same way if they rolled up on my shores, I would want them to treat me.
Yeah.
But it's a different mentality when you roll up and it's like, okay, what can I take? Like it's a different mentality that you rolling in there with. You know what I'm saying? And it's like the same way you're thinking, because you're thinking, man, hey, these people, this is their place. That they know how shit runs here. Let me find out how things are and let me learn there to be a part of their society. And hey, it might be cool to hang out here. But somebody else show up and it's like, okay, yeah, they got all this nice shit, yo. They don't deserve this. Y'all don't deserve this. Y'all got all this nice shit. Y'all don't deserve it. So I'm gonna take it.
But it was like I think that is what they decided, that y'all don't deserve this, but like the demonization, like of why they thought they didn't deserve it. Like to me, that's the wild part, where they were like, oh yeah, we want this shit, so we're gonna make up reasons for why they're bad and don't deserve it. And like that idea, I just see so much of that idea, that way of thinking, that way of being is still alive so much today in so many ways. And like, I don't know.
Petty motherfuckers, man.
I don't like that.
It's just petty.
I don't
People
like
just
that.
petty as fuck.
But I feel like that idea, like it gets played into music. It gets played into all these different, like that vibration shows up in so many different things. And so like, I don't know. I think that's like another reason I'm not saying like I don't talk my shit sometimes in my music, but I feel like there's so many messages, historical and current, that just send this message of like, well, manifest destiny, or I will, like, I want it, I'm gonna take it. You don't deserve it, this is why. Like, it's just such an aggressive, bombarding, and just like it's not a good energy. You know what I mean? But it becomes this powering force that sometimes people pride themselves on, or build up a whole movement on. And for me, I hear it in music sometimes. I hear it in different ways. You see it in policy, you see it in so many different ways. But I think for me, like, that's why, like, I wanted to make calm music. I wanted to make like music with the intention to slow down and to like rest or slow down and think about what you're doing. Be right here. I like slow down and be right here, because so much of our world is like, be here, think about this, do this. Well, you can excuse it because of this. Well, everybody else does. There's all these examples of like all these other messages that are bombarding, and like you said, like, just it's the same old thing. It's the same old, well, I can and I will, and it makes me cool, and like I don't know, like that vibration doesn't work for me, and I feel like there's enough of that vibration, and so I'm not telling other people what they should do with their vibration, but this is what I'm choosing to do with my vibration. And a lot of it is for me, because it helps calm me. Like, it helps me feel calm. Singing, feeling like I'm thinking and trying to manifest or bring in the energy of like calming, positive, peaceful, like loving things. Or even when it might be the opposite and I'm processing the opposite of it, like processing like this is what it is and this is why it is, so that I can not have to carry this energy anymore and not let it be a part of me. That's really what it's about, and that's really what it's for, because I feel like there's just that vibration, that message, it comes out in all these different ways. But this base idea, that base belief, that base energy, that base feeling, it's all the same.
Mm.
But it comes to the surface and all these different, we hear these different sound bites, we get these different feelings. But yeah, like that's just how I feel about it. That's what I'm doing to combat it, or that's my response to it. I wouldn't even say combat it because like I'm not fighting it. It is what it is. But I am what I am, you know?
Mm. I mean, I feel like, well, the sad reality is that when that energy came, it never left. It kept coming. And that's the energy that built the world that we currently subsist, reside, experience, whatever, however you want to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
That energy that was the end of those people that first encountered it here. That energy is still what runs the world because it never stopped. It just kept coming.
That's interesting, especially during COVID, because like COVID's not over.
Mm-hmm.
But that's interesting during that too, just because like disease was definitely a piece of that. Like,
I mean, the disease was a byproduct. That wasn't intentional, but they came through and they just started murking cats. It was like, okay, I like that gold you rocking. Where you got it from? A word over there. Y'all get it over there? Okay, go get some for me.
mm-hmm.
You ain't gonna get none? What you mean? Yeah, I know you gave me your food and you took me in and, my mans was sick and you helped him and all of that. Yeah, whatever. That's whatever. I want you to go get that gold out of that hill. Yeah, you and if you don't, little man's gonna get it. That energy has never stopped. That energy, matter of fact, kept coming. It started in Santo Domingo and continued to proliferate throughout. It just kept coming until it turned back on itself.
Yeah. It's interesting because I'm just like, what is the opposite and how do you cultivate that? Because what we're talking about is people know that they don't like it. So even when we topple it, you have the people say like you get these different times in human history that there was this feeling of, we're toppling it. But it's just like, that's all we know. So we keep recreating these same systems. We as like humans keep recreating these same things that, like you said, that spirit never left. So even as one gets toppled, like another thing that's kind of a similar, it might manifest in a different way, but it's the same energy.
Mm-hmm.
We end up recreating the same things.
Well, I mean, in from the perspective of where history is told, yes.
True.
Because that history is being told from the font of that energy.
Mm-hmm. That's true. We never get to hear the other story. That's intentional. That's all we know too.
Right.
Yeah. I definitely see that. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like
there's examples. Like, why don't we hear about Haiti? Like, why don't we hear about, because, okay, so yeah, I see that.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it's, the truth is, I don't know if you get to read, but there's an interesting book called Lies My Teacher Told Me. And it talks about how the history that is taught in school from K through 12 is pretty much no different than the stories of the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus. And it's a patriotic version of history. Because the goal is to raise young patriots that will carry that energy throughout the world, throughout their life. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the energy that keeps this place going, keeps this place doing the things that it does in the way that it does it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's the bottom line is all that matters. Because, from the perspective of the dude that's telling you a man that just took him in and fed him and, took care of his man and gave him a wife or whatever else. Now you tell him to go dig gold out that hill. From his perspective, it's like, yo, you know how much money we spent to come here?
Mm-hmm.
We got to make that money back. That's how they thinking about it. So it's the bottom line, money over people. That's what is going to, that's that energy. You know what I'm saying? And that's how, for me personally, like, when I see people, you could tell for me, the substance of the character is how you treat the people that don't matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're always going to be nice to the people that you see as, rungs or whatever in a ladder, or, as equals, I guess, or relevant. But the people that don't matter, the people that aren't going to change your life, the way people treat those people shows me who they are.
Yeah, I agree. And I pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just if, like, based on what you're witnessing, who shows up as the people that don't matter? Like, what is the world saying as this is who matters and this is who doesn't? And whether you're at the office or wherever you are, like, look around you. What is this environment saying about what matters and what doesn't? Who matters and who doesn't?
Well, you can tell who matters based on how they're treated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know, I feel like I didn't really think about that until I was teaching sixth graders. And I mean, like, I'm almost like the second eldest in my family. So, like, my parents definitely were trying to instill that in me about, like, responsibility to the people around you, in a sense, and what that looks like, what that means, what that feels like. But I didn't understand its impact and its weight until I was teaching sixth graders.
Okay.
And it's just that's what they're learning. Like, they're smart. They can learn all the facts. They could read the books.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what they're really learning is, like, who matters and who doesn't here. Oh, they're seeing how people speak to each other, how they respond, who's allowed to be disrespected and who's not,
They're being socialized.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Socialization is, that's just another way to describe what is taking place. Socialization is always happening. Something is always being socialized, like, current events.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and the way we're socialized is through media and through our schools, through our places of worship.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all places of socialization. How ideas are socialized within a group to reinforce their concept of why this group exists, or why they do what they do, or why they are who they are, or why they're where they are, or within a family there's socialization. You're socialized into a family and you take on characteristics of that group. So every there's layers of it, and at that age when you're most impressionable, because you're having a social impression put on you. Mm-hmm. And it's how all of those different factors play out in how you're socialized into any idea. Your family, your community, the entity or body that is socializing this concept to you, and how you fit into that creates those layers of of people. Some people, you know, like because their family, their background is very indoctrinated into the mainstream concept of society, they're easily socialized because, you know, they're part of, you know, everything they see around them is part of that machine.
You know what okay, so what you're talking about, there was just something that I realized, like, it wasn't like I just realized it, but like, I remember being a kid and like my parents would work really hard to take us on vacations. Like we would get in a van, like it was the family van, and we would drive somewhere and we would go take a vacation somewhere. And like my parents would work really hard all year so that in the summer we would have a week or two to do this.
Wow.
And like we would always go do something cool. Like we would go somewhere like, oh, we're going to go to the ocean, or we're going to go check this out. We're going to go, like there was something to check out. But at one point in time, it was just like, we're going to go to these different amusement parks and things like that. But then like, I remember like just kind of realizing how much of it had to do around consumerism, just like all of it, like on some base level was around consumerism, or like going here to buy this experience or do this. Cause like, you know, like when we go to the beach, whatever, like it costs the gas to get there. It costs like whatever we were going to snack on that day or whatever. But like a lot of what my mom and dad liked to do wasn't necessarily like nature stuff. So when I was getting out of college and stuff, like I was broke, man. Like I didn't have any money. Like I was graduating into a recession and I had a degree, but it didn't matter because like, you know, people with degrees and master's degrees who had a degree above mine were like fighting for entry-level positions. Like we were graduated into a recession. So I just remember kind of like the point before I graduated and after I graduated, like basically from sophomore to senior and then after graduation, this feeling of like, damn, I don't have money. Like I need money, right? Because there's all these things that I want to do, but they cost. Like they cost. And so how much of our socialization is just like, oh, well, you go here and you shop. You go to this and you shop. Like, we're going to go shop here. We're going to go shop there. We're going to go here and buy that. And that is something that, like, I don't really like that much. You know, like, for me, when I want to go try things and do things, like, it is usually an experience somewhere around nature. It has to do with, like, a hike or, like, going into the water or doing something. Like maybe the thing we might have to pay for other than gas to get there would be if like, I don't know, maybe I had to be taken out on a boat and I need to like hire somebody with a boat to take me out. And now we're exchanging because I'm exchanging something that's going to help their livelihood that is, I can't do alone, you know? So like, I don't know, I guess the thinking about it was just, I don't really enjoy shopping that much. And there's so many people around me that if I'm going to relate to them, it's just like, where are we going to go shop or spend this money doing this? And like, so much of what I like to do isn't always focused around like, I want to go shop here or buy this. Like, I want to go do this. I want to go sit in nature here or go see this thing that exists that doesn't require money to have. You know, I don't know. Like, I just noticed how much in my family, whether they meant it or not, like, dang, we'd go, a lot of it had to do with spending money. And there is so much in American society, and like I grew up in America, so I can't say how much it goes out into the greater world, but you definitely feel how capitalism is global. It's definitely global.
Oh, yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, dang, so much of what I'm socialized to do is like, oh, well, we're going to go here and go to this mall. Oh, we're going to go here and buy this. And I just don't really care. And so how, as I got older and really didn't care about those things, how just not caring about those things would separate you from people. And people would look at you like, oh, you're just a loser because you don't care. Or like, oh, it's not cool to not care. And I'm like, I'm not saying I don't care about anything. I'm saying I don't care about shopping.
Right.
And if I'm going to shop about something, like, what is it bringing value to people's lives? How am I? And so even now, as I like make things, you know, like I don't want to make something that is adding to the landfill. I want to
Right.
make something that's taking away from the landfill. So if somebody's buying this, they know that they're giving to that. And what they're getting is made by hand and it's quality. It's not made to fall apart so that they
Right.
buy it again.
Right.
It's something unique that, is going to add value to their life if they choose to have to spend their money to get it,
Right.
And I don't know, like, even as a person who has to play by these rules of capitalism and needs money to survive, we all need it. There's just so much that, like, I feel like there's a better way, and
Of
we're definitely
course.
not living by it. And so, even as I design things and I make things, it's just like, am I adding value? Like, I don't want to just take people's money. Like, I want to add value in multiple ways. And, like, what is my footprint?
Right.
Is what I'm doing leaving behind a footprint that is not worth the cost? Because again, like you were talking about the cost, these people are coming here and I got to get this because the cost is I might die crossing the ocean. And if I survive getting to and from, I might die because of the money I owe these people just to do this
Mm-hmm.
thing. And I'm doing this thing because of the prestige that it will make me look like in the society that I'm from. So all these, I'm doing this not because like it's what I actually want to do.
Yeah.
And so like, that's something that's big for me. And I feel like it's a privilege of its own. And so I want to use it wisely.
Right.
So I don't know, like that's a very long-winded way, but like it's just something that I don't want to be a mindless consumer. And I even with what I do, I don't feel like it's attracting mindless consumers. That's not the energy that I'm even trying to attract.
Right.
And so, yeah, like as a person who doesn't enjoy shopping, when I offer things that could be considered shopping, like what is the energy it carries? What is its intention? What is it made for? Like those are all questions that I have answered, and that like it's an intention behind the things that I do. And like I don't know, I see a lot of the ways that I have opportunities to live with more intention.
Yeah.
But then I see a lot of ways that our socialization is literally training us to not live with any intention.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's a balance. I think, you know, especially living at this latitude, think of the temperature outside today. We kind of need to wear clothes. So if we're going to wear clothes, then we get to choose how we want to express ourselves and what is important to us. I think that because a big part of it is simply the aesthetics, which is important. I'm not going to say the aesthetics aren't important because I love design, I love structure, the aesthetics are important, but I think how should I say it? The aesthetics aren't enough. I feel like if it looks a certain way, like this fast fashion stuff, it looks designer, it looks like it's well made until you wash it a couple times and then it falls apart.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's an analogy of so many things. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just part of where we are as a society and what we value. We value the look, but we don't value, like I'd hang out or, I'd go shopping with people because I actually like to shop. But, that's part of my background. I used to be a personal shopper. So, but somebody would be like, oh, I like this. I'm like, okay, cool. What's it made of? And that's never a thought. Like nobody thinks about, again, going back to the ingredients, nobody looks at what's it made of. Like, am I buying quality? You know what I'm saying? Am I getting something that is going to last, is going to wear well? That thought it's not a calculation. It's simply the aesthetics. How does it look?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And not what is the substance of this material that I'm investing in? You know, but it's like fast food. It tastes good. It'll fill you up, but it ain't got no nutritional value.
And I think that's where like the difference in the intention behind even what you're selecting as a shopper, like you're like, okay, I'm shopping. I do enjoy this, right? What you're looking for, the way you search for it, it's just such a different energy behind it than like the opposite of what we were talking about, like where you could tell that people like, oh, I bought this because I could say I spent this much.
Right.
And like, it's cool to everybody around me, whether I think I like it or not. Like they don't even think about what they like. It's like all this performative stuff because of the aesthetic. To whereas like when you're going in there and what you're choosing, that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it really then does come down to the energy and like the energy of mindless consumerism is not my thing.
And it's, it shouldn't be. I think consumerism should be mindful. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like to eat. Part of why I went vegan is so I could be mindful about what I eat. I'm not, people don't come for me. I'm not a PETA vegan. Like, I'm not here judging people because of what they eat. I became a vegan for myself as a speed bump so I can think about what I'm eating and not just eat, because it's easy for me to just eat. If it tastes good and just eat, it's easy. But I made a conscious choice to put that speed bump there. I like to call it a speed bump because it forces me to slow down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And what keeps me there is my allergies. Like I said, as a kid, my entire life, I was miserable with allergies. Like I didn't know an existence without being congested until I went vegan. I didn't realize that would be a byproduct of it.
How much of the diet that we're given is this is what our diet is, are things that don't really work with our system and don't make us feel well.
Right. Like, and I mean, I think for me, I can say that it's significant because even as a kid, back home in Jamaica, I had like terrible allergies, asthma, but I was drinking milk and eating a lot of meat, and because that's what a healthy kid is supposed to do. I wasn't always big when I didn't get big till I came to this country. I was skinny until I came here, but that's because the time I came here and where I was, it wasn't conducive for play and running around outside freely, because it was the crack era, it was Brooklyn, it was the 90s, and you'd hear gunfire just about every night and sometimes during the day. So it was, we wasn't going outside. So I would be in the crib eating, watching TV, hanging out, and that's it. That's when I got big. And it was like hard to, I haven't really been able to eke that skinny kid back out. It just hasn't happened. I mean, a lot of it too is because, I started lifting and my frame changed or whatever, but and the way I carry weight, I guess. But yeah, it's crazy how your environment, the epigenetics changes your whole existence.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, going vegan, it was really, I wanted, because I'd been kind of battling with being heavy since junior high school, really. Even in high school, I was heavy, but I was like solid, but I was big, or more solid, I should say. And after getting in shape, getting out of shape, getting in shape, getting out of shape, I want, I'm like, I need a way to control what's happening, even if I'm not working out. And for me, it was the food. It was like, all right, I have to eat. I'm gonna eat no matter what. I may not work out, but I'm gonna eat. So what I choose to eat, for me, is the most important lever of control I have for myself, because it's like no one is putting food in my face except for me.
But like you said, it was the intention behind it,
Mm-hmm.
and moving with that intention and following through with that intention in mind. I think the piece about you talking about slowing down, like those are the opposite of what's being socialized to
Right.
us.
Fast food. Fast
Everything
fashion.
fast, quick, get it done, be
Quantum.
productive, because then you got more time to be productive.
Yeah.
And so much of what you're talking about is like, nah, go slow. And I don't know, that's something that's important to me too. I feel like it's a choice that I make, not to be a contrarian, but because it makes me feel good, and it makes me feel like I'm taking my time to do the right thing. And like the right thing, yes, sometimes it's like, well, what's the most ethical or whatever, but sometimes it's just like the right thing is like what feels the best, is the most nourishing. And we don't always get the, like, I don't know, my parents didn't have that luxury to always take their time.
Mine neither. I mean,
and I think that's why the religious stuff came up for them, because like that was like, well, this is a way to like make sure that they're doing the right thing, and that was like the answer for a lot of people. But they were trying to do the right thing, but they didn't have the time to go slow and do that. And so now that I get the time to like go slow and move how I want to move, like to me, like, okay, that means like it's a luxury that my parents fought for. And like, I'm grateful that I get to take it, because so many of us, our parents fight for us to have these luxuries, and like, who knows if you get it or not. And so like, for me, like that, like being able to even set that intention and make that choice, like felt like a privilege, felt like a luxury. So like, I wanted to make sure that I was doing it. Like, I get to do this. That's awesome. Like, that makes me happy that I get to do this. Like, this is something I don't even know if they got to slow down and think about at all, having all the kids that they had, having all the responsibilities, So, I don't know, and that's just another piece of our socialization. And so the fact that they didn't get to slow down and think about that, like I do, I'm gonna take that time. And I don't know, like being able to make decisions without being like, oh, I gotta make this money. Like that makes me feel good. And for some people, like there's a lot of capitalist minded people who are like, well, like, why wouldn't you want to make money? It's more that like, I don't have to do this. I get to do what I want. And it doesn't have to be about me being productive. And like, that is beautiful. Like we're not here because of how much we can produce.
Right.
Like, that's not what for me, that's not what I'm here for. And so I'm not going to tell you what you're here for, but I'm not here to do that,
Yeah. I mean, I know we're not here to do it, but the way things are set up, that's kind of what we got to do.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Again, because, we still paying for those boats that came across.
In so many ways.
We still paying off that debt. Like, we still working it off, apparently. I don't know if you mind me asking, but are your folks still around?
Yeah. So my biological parents, as well as like my stepdad who raised me too. So yeah. My parents had me young.
Yeah.
And just even with them having me young, that doesn't mean that they're still here, kind of thing. But they had me young, and so I feel like I get time with them, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're still here. My mom, like my dad is turning 60 this year.
Nice.
And my mom's 4 years behind her, so I'm behind him. So my mom's 56 and he's 60. Okay. And then my biological dad would be 57, 58.
Oh, wow.
58. So they're all like approaching 60.
Okay.
And so that pocket in between like boomers and Gen X.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's like certain messages that you could tell each generation was sent, and certain ones we end up digesting and believing, certain ones we reject. You could see like what each generation like digests versus rejects and stuff like that. And then you kind of see the people within each generation that like the pieces of it that they accept for themselves and throw out and stuff like that. And so I always felt like that was just like my parents were that interesting in between the boomers and Gen X, like,
Yeah.
and you get to see those, what came up for those generations, like in both, in them.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, you know, I guess I was asking, did they have they had a chance to slow down?
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think so for my mom. I don't think she has. And then now that like maybe it would be a time that she could because her kids are getting older and stuff, like I honestly don't know if she knows how to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And I tease her about it because like I don't think she knows how to stop. I don't think she knows how to slow down. My dad, he goes on trips and stuff, so I think he's trying to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
My biological dad, I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. I don't know how he lives his life.
That's fair.
You know, I wish him the best. I love him, but yeah, I couldn't answer that question.
I understand that feeling. I understand that.